Silence covered the room, and he finished his meal and said, "Enough for now, please eat and rest, for you must be on your way tomorrow." They all talked amongst themselves all day, and Obe took a walk, looking past the tree line. Wanyenyekevu saw him and walked up to him. Obe turned and saw Wanyenyekevu smiling. "I would be happy when I walk those golden streets with no more pain, no more sorrow, and no more tears." Wanyenyekevu said, "Yes, just to be so close gives me chills." Obe turned to Wanyenyekevu. "Well, let's make Sabaoth proud of us, and do his will." Wanyenyekevu and Obe returned to the tables and continued talking about their situation and everything they saw that day until they finally fell asleep. They heard a voice. "Rise and prepare to be on your way." It was Mletsi. Obe bowed. Mletsi looked at Obe. "No, my friend, rise and give Sabaoth the honor." Wanyenyekevu looked at Obe. And Obe whispered, "That's the old man that gave me the Torah all those years ago." Mletsi continued, "A week has passed since you left. Those who seek you are long gone and lost to your whereabouts. Prepare to leave and stay at your location for a week, in which time, Obe, you must perform a holy jeûne and receive your gift." Joy whispered to Jonathan, "We were only here overnight. How has a week passed?" Mletsi turned and smiled at Joy. "Time doesn't exist here." The large doorway opened. Standing by the door as it opened stood Shika, with a big smile. "There will be times whereby you shall need my help, and only during Poingdidio will you be able to receive the full power of Sabaoth. Just say, in Shika's name, and I shall defeat your enemies before you." Mletsi grabbed Joy and Jonathan by the hands. "Sabaoth is pleased to see your love for one another and has blessed it." He turned to Wanyenyekevu. "And has given Wanyenyekevu approval to marry you too." Joy blushed, and Jonathan smiled in embarrassment. They all were happy for the two as they walked out of the large doorway. When they all had passed the doorway's entrance, it disappeared. They were in front of the tree line as if they had just come out of the forest. So they turned around, headed into the tree line, and vanished into the woods. Wanyenyekevu said, "I will marry you too, after a week, after Obe's jeûne." Looking at Obe, "You must perform your holy jeûne as well starting tomorrow morning." He raised his voice for everyone to hear. "To everyone else, you may jeûne or do as you feel fit." And they all agreed to jeûne together with Obe the next day. Elisha and Jonathan worked on some of their equipment throughout the day while Elijah, Wanyenyekevu, Daniel, and Joam went hunting, and the three sisters discussed the wedding. Obe laid on the ground thinking about what had just happened and drifted off to sleep. For the first time in his life, he felt peace. He felt serenity, and it was a feeling he never wanted to end. Laughter awakened him. The men had returned, and they all were sitting around talking. "Sorry to awaken you, Obe, we were just telling stories of our past. Would you like to join in?" said Joam. Obe replied, "I don't know anything from my past, but I was born," pulling up his shirt and revealing his shoulder. "With this mark on me." Wanyenyekevu looked at the markings and said, "That's the Seminoles tribe markings, but I'm not aware of your clan." In Native American history, many would mark their children with their tribe and clan after 1 week along with circumcision if he was a boy, pulling up his shirt sleeve. "This is my tribe and clan. The Seminoles are mostly in Florida, but a few are scattered here and there. I think Oklahoma has a large population and a long history of them as well. I'm familiar with John Horse and the Black Seminoles. They created the largest haven in the South for runaway slaves during the 1800s. They led the largest slave revolt in U.S. history, securing the only emancipation of rebellious slaves before the U.S. Civil War. They formed the largest mass exodus of slaves across the United States and, ultimately, to Mexico." It amazed Obe at what Wanyenyekevu was telling him. "How do you know all this?" Wanyenyekevu proudly said, "They taught us as a youth, our history and just history period back at home. We know very little about technology but plenty about history. The elders spoke most of our old history in the past, because we didn't read or write, it was lost. So now everything is written because that history has been lost forever, since the European invasion." They talked all day and finally fell asleep, with all security measures intact.